Recording in progress. So we're just starting. We're talking about getting the whole package in the mouth, but the left testicle falling out because it hangs lower. This is where our conversation starts before you get to hear. So
where does it end, though?
Where does it end?
You know, we're all tantric practicing people, so there's no end, really, is there? We'll just keep going.
And we're aiming to continue to get the episodes more and more spicy, because the more spicy it is, the more of you tune in. So
Yeah.
Where does this go now? This is your own fault. If you don't like how spicy it gets, you're the one that egged us on.
Because you're not listening to the boring episodes.
Yeah, so the boring episodes where we're just really discussing how we're doing today.
You don't care about us.
You don't care about us. You just want us to be hot topics. But speaking of a hot topic.
Wow, what a segue.
We have Australia's, I'm just going to go straight off the Instagram bio, Australia's leading men's coach, Tyran Mowbray, good friend of both of ours, joining us to talk some hot topics. And if you've ever followed his page, it's filled with hot topics, with really raunchy headlines and raunchy pictures to accompany them.
Hell yeah. Some of your titles have been a priest of phallic power. What's the other one that you were very famous for a long time?
Men get raped too.
No, like your actual title.
Oh, shameless sex god.
Shameless sex god. Thank you, shameless sex god. Yeah. That was phenomenal.
Yes,
that was phenomenal.
How you doing, Tyran?
I'm very good, Paisley and Alpha. Thank you very much. Beautiful intro. Yeah, I'm doing very good. In general, you know, like I'm doing I can to regulate my nervous system, constantly being in lockdown as we all are. But life is pretty good, and you know, yes, I have a priest of phallic power. I am a priest of phallic power, and I have been a shameless sex god in the past. And
yes,
I like to summarize all of that now as I'm just an embodied man. I'm just a man that's in his body constantly. But yes, they have been my titles in the past.
I like that. I think it's like, obviously, I don't know you as well as Paisley knows you. I know you a little bit. We had some really great conversations. And what I've noticed about you is actually your equal parts, you know, your clickbait kind of triggering posts and, you know, shameless sex god and all of that. But you're also, the flip side, really sensitive and really emotionally connected as well. And, you know, I think you, to me anyway, we've spoken about this, but you seem on the outside to embody the stereotypical, you know, blokey man who likes his tools and his footy and all of that, which is totally who you are. But then you are also very connected to your heart, and you're very, you know, you love and you love actually getting to the deeper things. So I think that's something that is really quite fascinating, because if you didn't get the opportunity to know you, you wouldn't be able to, you know, to experience those parts of you.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean I just had an interview before with a guy about this, and we were talking about men's work, and the two, like, you know, men get told that they have to fit one or the other. You're either a nice guy who's connected to your heart, or you're a bad boy that breaks the rules, and you know, you're strong and stoic, type stuff. And it's like, you know, and obviously there's everything in between that can be experienced. And me and Paisley even chatted about this the other day. It's like, I hold the energy. People see me as this Aussie, Ocker, Australian blokey, rides motorbikes, plays football, has tattoos, whatever. And yet, you know, on a Saturday night, you'll find me watching like romantic comedies with candles and fucking, you know, eating ice cream out of the, you know, like you're right. I have it all at different times. And there's times when I'll just watch fucking Chris Hemsworth and Thor and watch him smash shit with his hammer. It's like, I've learned to embody many different aspects of myself because I was stuck in one for a really fucking long time. And ultimately it led to depression and stress and drug addiction and alcoholism and all the other good shit that we do in life when we are feeling empty and shit with ourselves. And it led to a breakdown, and it led to me fucking acknowledging that I hate the man that people see. And that's my fault because I'm not showing them any other parts of me, but I didn't know how to. And so that was what led me on my journey of, you know, development. Or really, I think it's the journey of demolishment. I was demolishing the identity that I had created for myself.
Yeah. And what if you had to elevator pitch your new identity?
Yeah.
What would you? How would you describe yourself?
The Aussie bloke that loves anal. I don't know.
Wait, giving or receiving?
Receiving.
Cool.
And
Okay.
giving, but no. I don't know if I was to elevator pitch myself. Okay, Tyran Mowbray, Australia's leading masculinity mentor, deconstructing what masculinity means. We keep talking about the redevelopment or redefining, and it's like, actually let's not redefine it, let's undefine it. Let's get rid of the definition, because the moment you have a definition of something, anyone that doesn't fit that definition is going to feel some form of, I'm not this, or I'm not that, or I'm not in that box or this box. And so that just creates separation, and again, me and Paisley did an interview about a year ago, and he said, what are you doing to include the queer, gender fluid? And I was like, nothing. I'm not doing anything to include them. What I am doing is breaking down the labels that a vast majority of everyday men have around what it means to be a man. And what that does is it helps them be more accepting of everyone else. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to do for myself, is I'm trying to be more inclusive of the world as a whole and all the bits and pieces that are included in it. And not be so polarized in my perspective of what is right or wrong or good or bad, or and that doesn't mean I don't have my own judgments. I still get triggered, I still process my emotions, I still have shit, but getting rid of the definition of masculinity is, for me, going to be the fastest way for us to grow as a general populace.
Love that.
Yeah, I've always had so much respect for that answer. And I just also know so many people of my audience will not understand that. I assume that, I would better say. But this is your section over here. Like, for majority of the people that are very focused on being inclusive, one of the areas they're least inclusive to is probably the people that you're working with.
Or the person that you represent to them.
Or the person that you represent. So it's like, well, he'll work on those people to be more inclusive of your people that you consider inclusive and you're exclusive of. I've always had a lots of respect for that. And even for the other day, I did a poll on my Instagram, and I was like, is one of your highest values being inclusive? And I was like, be honest. And then people are being honest. And every time I'm like, oh, someone that I know and love is like, no, I'm not really caring about being inclusive. But then if I draw it back to what you say, not the saying you're not being inclusive, but it's not the main priority of your containers. I really respect that, because men that fit this stereotype that we're talking about right now, maybe right now is not in their awareness. And you're not teaching them about queerness and around inclusive rights or anything, but by working on themselves and allowing themselves to drop further into their heart, into their feelings, into empathy, into compassion for themselves, for the people around them, that's gonna then widen their view around queer, trans, black, white, whatever it is. That's just gonna be an automatic transmission that comes through it that you don't specifically have to focus on.
Well, disempowered people disempower people. Race, sex, and religion has nothing to do with it, right? Anyone that feels disempowered is going to disempower other people, and anyone that feels empowered is going to empower other people. And I feel like, don't get me wrong, race, gender, religion, sex, they're all important topics to talk about in their own right. But the work that I do with men, I work to empower them and to feel inclusive of all the aspects they have inside of themselves. And through that, they have a deeper understanding of nothing is wrong inside of me. There's not a part of me that is bad. Therefore, if there's not a part inside of me that's bad, there can't be a part inside of anyone else that's bad. And if they have that belief, they have that mindset, then we go a long way to actually being more inclusive of everyone in every dynamic that exists. In my perspective, this is my belief, and this is why I teach it the way that I do.
Yeah, I hear that. I kind of have this theory or philosophy that, if we're all being honest and we took all our masks off, like actually everyone is more queer than they are straight. That we hold in society, the idea is that the majority is straight and then the queer is the abnormal, is the deviation, right? But actually, no one is really 100% straight. Like everyone's got a little tiny bit of like, oh, I'm straight, but in this situation, I'm straight, but actually, it's like actually the majority of the people, I would say, or maybe all human beings, because it's about diversity for me. Actually, we are all different, we're all unique, and we all have our authentic experiences that is not homogenized, is not the same. And so that sameness, that's the problem.
Yes.
It's like the problem is that box that, you know, you feel you have to fit in, the box that you feel like society forces you to be in. If you're a man, you got to be this. If you're straight, you got to be this. Like that's the issue. It's not that there is a straight person and there's a gay person. It's like everybody is to some degree queer in their gender, in their sexual orientation. Like we're diverse, we're different.
Yeah, well, that's like, for instance, with Tyran, like, as I'm sure you identify as straight, but to someone else, some other ochre bloke that wears VB shorts and thongs with socks on and has a mullet and goes to the pub every Friday, he'd look at you and some of the things you do and be like, oh, that bloke's queer.
Yeah,
know?
He'd be like, oh, Tyran, that pussy. For sure. There'd be someone out there.
And that's always a spectrum.
I've had penises in my mouth. I've had blowjobs from men. Like, yes, as far as like super straight identifying men go, I'm not straight because I've done those things. And would not say that I'll never do them again in the future. Like I'm never going to say never to nearly anything, right? I'll probably never eat human feces. I'm pretty sure I'll never do that. I'm pretty sure that's not happening.
We'll see.
As far as sexual,
$100 on that bet. I'm putting $100 down on that.
Would you do it for a charity though?
$100.
Would you do it for a charity?
How much money does the charity get? I mean, you know, let's go. Let's start plucking numbers out here. But yeah, you know, like, yeah, compared to some people like we have, and I think even the word queer have like, for example, working with men. If I tell certain men that they have an inner feminine, they kind of throw up in their mouth a little bit. Yeah. And so it's like, well, how can I get them to talk about the softness that exists without it being because it's even making something gay or straight or queer or whatever, like the labels are the issue in general. And the more labels we have, the chapter, in my opinion, again, the 100%. More challenging it is to like, fuck, well, now I don't even know what's like, am I this? Am I that? Pansexual, asexual, sexual, heterosexual, like heterosexual, so homosexual. Like the thing is, it's sexual. Everything, it's an adjective.
We're all sexual.
Sexual. We're sexual beings. And we get the choice. We have the freedom to choose what that looks like for us in each moment.
Yeah.
And 100%. My favorite saying is like, if I go sailing once on a sailboat, does that make me a sailor?
Yeah.
No, not unless I say to myself, I now am a sailor. I may never sail a sailboat again, but it was fucking brilliant and I loved it and I'm now a sailor. So it's like we try to put so much meaning on experiences rather than having the experiences and seeing how we respond personally and physically and emotionally to them. In life, not just sexual experiences, but just in general. Like if I stand up for something and I show aggression towards something I'm passionate about, people will now try to label me an asshole or an aggressor or a fucking left wing or a right wing or a non-vax or a pro-vax or whatever. Just because I have a belief in one area, people want to identify me as a thing. And I think that's part of all our issues is we are trying to control something so much that we are holding on to a thing rather than like surrendering more, letting things be what they are, and trusting our own ability to navigate in that state of flow.
I hear that. And also at the same time, I'm hearing like the quintessential like, yeah, man, I don't do labels. Labels are so restrictive. You know, I just kind of feel shit, go with the flow. Like I'm hearing that in the background as well.
Are we just going to grill Tyran for this whole interview?
No, it's not a grill. This is just, I'm just chatting, you know? Because the thing is, like, I'm an artist, right? I love words and I love language and I love the way that we can communicate ideas across space and time telepathically, but also like through vibration, these words that have their symbols, right? That have a meaning, and the meaning that I have when I deliver this word to you, and then you take it into your system, you've got your associations and your meanings and your conditioning, all of that stuff and your values. And somehow we try to communicate each other's worlds and share that in the shared realm. So like, I can see how people, when they have this deep wound of being misunderstood, of being othered, of not feeling included, not feeling like they belong or that they matter or that they're special in any way, to finally have a word that they can identify with that makes them feel like valid. Oh, finally, this is what I am. I've felt so long that there wasn't any word that represented how I feel or who I am. Now I have it. I can see that there's often so much liberation in that, and so much also, you know, comfort and certainty, and finally finding an identity that fits.
Yeah, well, my one is like the contradiction of that is like, it's a label and it's not a label, is what I most identify as is fluid. So it's like the label that's meant to be labelless. Yeah,
but then it becomes a label as well. I mean, everything does. That's why words are so tricky, right?
Yeah.
And on a spiritual level, we're in the Maya. We are living in illusion. So it's gonna be like this.
Yeah. And I, you know, like, do I get upset when someone calls me a man and I don't feel like a man in that moment? Or you get upset crazy, someone just goes, hey mate, or bro, or brother, or, you know, and it's like, you know, I always call you bro, and you may identify as fluid, but in my eyes, you're a man.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, and, you know, we have a relationship, so there's a easefulness there. But I mean, you know, we are all trying to fit into something in life, and I understand that and I appreciate that. And if someone wants to call me an asshole because of a thing, it's like, cool, well, yeah, sometimes I'm an asshole. I can let you think that, and I can let you identify me as that, and I'm not going to get triggered by it, because I'm not seeking a justification for it. When I call you bro, Paisley, and I'm like, fuck, I love you, man, it's like, I identify you as a man because you look like a man, you have a penis, you know, and if you want to identify as, it's like, well, okay, cool. We have this agreement of like, that's what it is. And if you were to come to me and say, look, please don't say that, please say this, I would try my utmost to fit, you know, that for you as a friend. But it's like, I find we're all doing the best we can with what we have, and our collective consciousness is evolving so quickly at the moment, with, you know, empowerment of people's voices and empowerment of people's experiences, and things changing, and the old ways becoming deteriorating. Like Dane and I were talking just before of like, you know, the political system across the world is fucking collapsing. You know, like America's collapsing, Australia is probably going to be collapsing soon. And what we're realizing is like, our collective consciousness has evolved faster than the system that has got it to where it is. It's like, you know, we are trying to fucking run a nanotech system with old fucking cable wires, you know. It's like, it's not the system doesn't support what's happening collectively in us right now, and we are in a state of evolution, and we're trying to create new systems to fit it all.
Well, the perfect example of what you just said is like, you know, internet connection, right? Everybody has to now work online. So we have to have technology, but the speed at which we want to flow our ideas, the speed at which we want to create, the internet can't fucking keep up, because the quality of the cables and the quality of, you know, because if anybody doesn't know, internet is actually like, it runs under the fucking ground. It's a real thing. It's not just like energy wiggles all over the air. And it's like, the quality of these cables is shit house. And I read something that like a lot of the cables that run under the oceans, and remember this dream that I told you, Tyran? Anyway, I'm going on a sidetrack. But sometimes sharks eat the fucking internet cables. And it's like, we're having these fucking huge discussions about going into space, and like, what is my gender? And like, I'm this infinite spiritual being and all this fucking cool shit. And all of this is going through these fucking cables.
There's a shark disrupting our conversation right
There's a
now.
shark chewing on the internet cables, you know. But that's the thing.
And now the shark's going to become gender fluid. We don't know who it is. But now the shark's going to have identity issues.
Oh God! But don't you think like it's a similar thing? Like if your physical body is your hardware, right? And then you have your consciousness. Right.
Podcasts are laughing at the shark, the gender neutral shark. Sorry.
Oh wow. Anyway, yeah. Look,
he's going to be swimming around going, I identify as a dolphin now. I'm now a dolphin.
Well, look, since you bring that up, that's something that I did discuss, or not discuss actually. I maybe spoke to like 2 people. I spoke to you about it last year when everything was happening. Lots of discussions around race. And there's a very innocent part of me, and I'm sure somebody could school me on this as to why it's not okay. But there's a very innocent part of me that goes, well, if gender is a construct and if race is a construct too, and if I can identify as any other gender because that's what I feel is authentically me, can I also identify as any other race? Is that allowed? Is that okay?
So, the way that I view this really, and look, actually, look, I know I made some jokes, and anyone that was offended, I apologize. It's not my intention. You have to understand that I don't let much of this into my realm. Like, I didn't even know COVID was a thing until the whole world went on lockdown in March. People were like, seriously, Tyran, you're in New Zealand. If you want to go home now because you won't get back into your country. Like, I don't tune in. Like, Dane will come to me and be like, hey bro, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, I have no idea what that is. Like, I don't watch the news. I don't listen. I don't plug into that. To be perfectly honest, I don't even know what cis stands for when people say white, cis, heterosexual male. I don't know what it stands for. That's how out of touch with that realm I am. And it's not from a place of like, it's not in my world, and I don't need someone else's new label. I don't need to understand it in order for me to understand myself. And when you can I identify as a different race, that just all that means to me is like, can I walk in their shoes? The age-old saying of like, put yourself in someone else's shoes, and can you live their life for a little while? I've done that, like I've worn dresses and put heels on and put makeup on to embody my feminine, and what does that feel like? And I've had deep and powerful visions of being like a child in Africa that has very little and has to, like, I've lived those experiences through my system, and I've allowed myself to feel and to identify with those people what it must be in order to have that kind of energetic and emotional experience inside my body. And at times it's heartbreaking, it's like, it's phenomenal to feel how disconnected to those people we can be because we live in our own bubble of my life as I am. And so, as me and the world that I live in, all I believe, or what I believe, is like those people that say I identify as this now, is they are stepping into an energetic resonance of something that is not their physical representation, but they are stepping into the embodied experience of what that person, what that energy, what that whatever represents, and they're like shamanically, if you want to give it a label, they're shamanically stepping into, this is what it feels like to be that person. This is what the emotional feelings that they have is this. It's like, it's what actors do, and they step into a role, they step into a character. And I'm not saying that those people that do decide to change their identity or choose to identify with something else are wrong. I just believe they are deep shamanic beings that can fully step into this new identity and embody it and live it. Like they can actually live it as those people. And because as a soul, we are everything. We are everyone. There is nothing. The soul is genderless. The soul is raceless. There's no, we as humans create our identity. So like for me, those humans are deeply shamanic beings that can step into these people or these, you know, these identities and really take them on if they so choose. And, you know, they are just in a way, like, I don't want to say more spiritually connected, but more able to step beyond the personal experience we have as humans and step into a different realm. So that, like, that's how I incorporate that the way those people choose to experience life.
I'm curious because like a lot of what you're saying I can resonate with, and some of it is also kind of going a bit sideways in my body. And it's some of the language like that you're using is it's this new identity, and also like those people being people who transition into a new identity, and how that feels separate from, say, you or from, you know, me, where it's like, on what level or to what degree do you feel being a man, like you identify as a man, to what degree is that self-created, or is it a product of the world that you live in, and that you were born with this particular genitalia and therefore you were told you are a man and therefore all of this stuff goes with it? And so at what point do you transition into your new identity? When was that? And is it the same? You know, so these are some of the questions that are coming up for me, more just out of curiosity than anything.
Yeah. And you know, look, like I said, I know what cis stands for. So the way that I word and the way that I articulate my feelings and expressions, I really am not trying to separate, like make anyone feel separate or isolated. It's not my intention. And, you know, if that happens, I would just firstly would like to say, I'm sorry, please forgive my ignorance. And, you know, like, please take everything I say with a pinch of salt as a man that is, you know, articulating what he feels. I'm not here to hurt anyone, please. So I just want to articulate that, because I can feel the energy from both of you now, like, ooh, we are talking into things, you know. Like,
no, and I also want to say, like, we've got you on this episode as a friend. We love you.
Yes.
We respect you.
Yes.
We also know that, like any other person, there are going to be certain things that you think, or that, you know, opinions that you have that maybe I'll disagree with, maybe Paisley will disagree with, whatever. It never negates our trust and love that you are a good person, that you love us, and that you always have the best intentions. Like, for me, that's something that I carry with anyone. It doesn't matter who the person is. So to have you here and to have this discussion, for me, it's like, I love having these kinds of robust discussions and allowing ourselves to say the things that we can't say to certain people, because it's like, you'll get shut down before you even get your complete thought out, because people already mistrust each other and are suspicious of our intention. Whereas for me, it's like, no, I know you and I love you, and I know that these are thoughts that we can explore, and it can change tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's a big important thing for me. You know, we've lightly discussed on a few of our recent lives leading into a program that we got out, is that the differences between you and I, you know, this, like, I'm more artsy queer dude, you're more like Aussie motorbike riding bloke. If you see us on the street, we're two different people, but we have a lot of the same values. But at the same time, we think very differently around different things as well. And especially around us all being a certain level of influencer to our community. We're leaders. We work with so many different people. People see us as, oh shit, they're friends, you know, like, and everything must be the same in their world. But no, we navigate different things and we grow together by having these conversations. And we are all definitely about, like, love and connection and understanding and moving through things and understanding polarizing ideas and being unapologetic in our expression, and also apologizing for our expression when we know that we have fucked up, and really riding all these different waves. And to have you on here, for me personally, is really great, because I'm having moments when you're saying things, when Alpha just said something where I'm like, our listeners. As many times as we've come on here and been like, we cancel ourselves, you can't do anything to us, I'm still like, damn it, but this topic is the one that I'm scared about getting canceled for. But no, like, this is something I want to continue to do, and to go, I can hear Tyran over and over saying, this is how I feel. This is where my level of awareness is. This is how I'm navigating life. I'm sorry if this offends you, but I'm here to share my opinion. They are asking me this right now, and I'm not going to skirt around it because I want to be honest. I want to be true because this is a part of doing the work.
That's integrity for me.
That's integrity.
It's like, I may not be right, but this is what I genuinely believe right now, based on my experience, based on what I know, and I'm going to fucking stand behind that. And if I learn something new, I can change my mind. And I'll stand behind that.
Yeah. And I think silence is the thing that has stopped evolution for so long. You know, like that's what has created the unhealthy polarization of what a man or what a would like. No one's asked questions. No one's questioned anything. And politics, like the same thing with like power and politics and all the, just no one asked any questions. People just stopped asking. And so being able to have the conversations and say what you think, someone say what they think, and then there being a discussion or a heated discussion or a disagreement, it's how things change. And things can't change if we all just shut up and says anything about any topic. You can't say that because you might upset someone. Look, I've fucking got very comfortable with the idea that I'm going to upset a lot of people in the world by me being me. And if I didn't get comfortable with that, I would have a shitty fucking life, living a boring life, not doing what I want, not being passionate because I'm too afraid that I'm going to step on an eggshell and upset someone. And it's like, I'm not trying to upset anyone. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to develop. I'm trying to realize more stuff about myself and understand the world about me, because to be honest, I don't care if you're gay, straight, queer, black, white, yellow, whatever. None of us actually know what the fuck we're doing. All trying to get through this thing the best way we can.
Yeah.
You know, like none of us actually know what the fuck we're doing. I don't care how strong or brave or smart you think you are. You're only doing what you know works for you in this moment.
Yeah.
That's it.
And like around that, talking and how you're saying like you wouldn't be passionate, you would be like repressed, you wouldn't be happy, is I know a lot of your career and your influence and your income, and same for myself, same for Alpha, comes from a lot of things that have maybe once been wrong, things that have upset people, but the majority has always been, has helped more people, has healed more people, has had more agreements around it than upset and triggering and, you know, being a bad person, quote unquote, like that. Yeah, if I didn't have the ability to express myself unapologetically and to explore the different places of my mind and my body and my soul in expression and sharing that with people, I would have a job I don't like. I would be having a sex life I don't like. I would have friends that I probably don't like. I would just like, I'd probably be like, honestly, at more of a place when I was more shut down. I lived a pretty fucking full on life that was, you know, I skipped going to jail. I skipped death many times from living like what we coined recently, a legally challenged life.
A legally challenged life,
because allegedly I was doing some criminal stuff before this lifestyle. Was that, yeah, if I didn't learn to be willing to go into these places that are tricky for some people and that we want to silence, then I would be dead. Go out.
I found the segue because I've been looking for it for a while, and it's like just what you said there. So all three of us have been reading Existential Kink.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of what we do in our work is what you would call shadow work, right? Where essentially you're looking for the hidden parts of you, the parts of you that are being shamed, repressed, judged, you know, all of that. And reclaiming that and taking ownership of those shadow behaviors, right? Like, I think it doesn't matter, you know, whether you're gay, straight, whatever your fucking sexuality is, what your gender is. To me, that is the work. The work, like all of the crux of it is that you are tapping back into your infiniteness by looking at the parts that you've judged, that you say, I'm not that, I'm never going to be that, I never want to be that, or, you know, that you have basically shit around. And you just sharing on looking at the difference in the way you're living now compared to the way you were living, you always had a love of the taboo.
Yes.
That's why you would just not go into jail, you know, because you love the way it feels when you do something that's like allegedly illegal. And then you just, you know, so it's shadow. It's like all in the shadow until you fucking go in your mind, and then you start coming to peace with these parts of yourself, and now you're living it openly. And now you got like a fucking boyfriend, and you know, you do all these rituals. All that shit was already there, but it was in the shadow.
Of course. Now I just go to like Instagram jail instead, or like get cancelled by my listeners or whatever it is, instead of real jail. But Instagram jail is just as scary these days.
Yeah, but the reason why I wanted to segue, because I know you both have created this course, breasts and pests. Guys, it's a spin-off.
Well, that's the next one.
That's the next one. Breasts and pecs.
Jesus. Okay. Beasts and priests.
Yes.
And these are two archetypes. We would call them masculine archetypes that you're working with, that you both kind of hold, you know, these energies. And I would love to hear from you. Well, why these particular archetypes? What do they mean to you? And how does that relate to the shadow work that you have been doing or that you are doing?
You start, Tyran.
Thanks. Yeah, look, it's I don't understand how that segue happened, but here we are.
My brain's a bit weird like that. I connect dots very, very far away.
I was like, we had an existential kink came in the middle there, but then we didn't. I'm not sure what's going on.
It makes sense in my mind.
I was going to start getting ready to talk about masturbating to like weird shit that, you know, happened, but then now we'd be some priests. Anyway,
Isn't that the first part?
That's the first module of Beast and Priest. Masturbate to this weird shit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's So, you know, the archetypal work that I've done, the shadow work that I've done, you know, like I was your typical, what a vast majority of people would call toxic masculine man that just drank piss, fucked as many women as was allowed to, would allow him, you know, did lots of things to get that sex too, you know, in a not clean way, and just generally like was an animal in the realm of like, I go to the gym, I work out, blah blah blah, and it was just like, it was purely to get my base level needs met, you know, like eat, fuck, and sleep, you know, and that was it. And obviously all because I had a shit ton of emotional pain that I just fucking couldn't let go of. And so when I broke down, my journey was to polarize the other way. Like I became a fucking yogi, hippie, you know, barefoot wanderer around the world, lived in a tent, all that stuff. And everything became sacred. Everything became like, oh, I don't want to, I just want to, you know, like what you were mentioning before, I just want to be in the flow and I don't like labels, and I just, you know, and I swung the other way. And I really got into my yoga, and yoga became like this every day, 90 minutes minimum, you know, like it became this practice of presence for myself and devotional giving to myself. And it showed up, you know, and it did like in a really positive way when I was engaging with women. It was like, I no longer was just trying to fuck them and get my end away. I was devotional. I was loving. I was in my heart, and the lovemaking became so different, you know, because I was able to tap into that. And then the journey, like once I swung to the light, you know, the light area for a longer period, I slowly started to come back into this not balance. I don't believe that in balance where we never move. For me, that's a beeline, like we're dead. We have to be, but I learned to swing. I learned to go from dark to light. I learned to play in both polarities. And I learned to bring sacredness and devotion to that animalistic primal part of me that did still enjoy to go to the gym and lift heavy weights and fucking get out of my head and like just get really wild. And I brought consciousness to the animal of like, right, he's driven by emotion. So where is the emotion coming from and what is driving him? And, you know, when there is emotion to process, I can process it in a way that is healthy rather than drink it or drug it down further. And so, you know, for me, the beast and the priest represent the two extremes of this pendulum swing that we can go on, you know, and both of them have shadows in our society as to being unhealthy in one way, shape, or form. The beast is the rapist, the thief, the murderer, the thing that just takes without consent, does whatever it wants. And the priest is the self-sacrificial, devotional, you know, what do you call it? The shadow side. Yeah, castrate. And the shadow side of that is, fuck, the priest has a lot of bad shadowy shit that's been, you know, so it's like we picked those archetypes, in my opinion, because they both represent actually really unhealthy, most of the time, like our society has very unhealthy representations of them. But when the beast has when the priest has a level of embodiment that the beast has, and when the beast has a level of consciousness like the priest does, that's when we have this really beautiful way for men or male-bodied humans to be able to swing and actually not shame one or the other. The moment we shame one side, we stay stuck in the other. That's when we'll go into shadow, because we can only be as like integrated in the dark as you are in the light, and vice versa. And if you stay away from one, then you play in the shadow. And so, you know, it was a part of my journey of that's the journey I went on. And that's why, you know, we chose these archetypes, because they both integrated are fucking magic and beautiful and you know, really, really powerful.
It's interesting, just as you were talking and I was feeling into the characteristics of these two particular archetypes, they seem like they're polar opposites, right? But in a way, like they're almost exactly the same. The way I'm feeling into it now, if you look at priests in our society, the Catholic Church and the priests, and the way priests and the Catholic Church has stolen so much of the wealth of the world. And obviously we know, you know, what happens to children in the Catholic Church and all of that stuff. And then you look at beasts and the way there's such a reverence for nature. There's such a respect. There's such a sacredness in the beast relationship as an animal, as, you know, the interconnectedness of all things. It's like, actually, they're not completely separate. They're actually like the exact same, or yeah, I don't know what the analogies I'm looking for, but yeah, like they're intimately connected.
Yeah. And the other side that, like, Tyran just beautifully explained, the archetypes of like the both the sides. But to me, why we chose them as well, taking a step back, was Tyran and I only met in person like 2 years ago, I think it was, at a men's conference around men's work, right? And we want to go and continue. We're teachers, but also students, right? And we're at this place and they're talking a lot. They're explaining. What the fuck? Like, show us, like, let us embody one of these lessons that you're telling us about. It's like, yeah, you've just got to do this, and you just got to do this, and you'll be that. This will change in your life. I'm like, how, yeah, just stage talk. Like, how do we actually go into that? Like, what you say, we need to have more integrity. We need to feel our emotions more. We need to be more empathetic. I'm like, yeah, but how? Of course, yeah. Tell the cows come home to be these things, but how? And me and Tyran are both in our chairs. The beast is awake. Like, so angry to the point where like I think I stood first, and I was like, how? Like, poor one person that's presenting. Lots of people presented, but this one guy was the one that had to cop it. So apologies to him. But I was like, you all have been telling us that we need to be more this and more that, and our lives would be better. So my beast was very activated. I'm like, look, I have said it during sorry that it's coming out on you, but I just would, how do we do that?
That's a perfect moment for you to be like, so if anyone's sitting here feeling frustrated with all this talk and they want to know how, I'm just letting you know.
Just come over here. But that sort of did happen, was like, okay, you know, and all these things, we moved through it. Tyran had a blow up. We came back. We apologized to certain people. We tried to sit through it. We realized we need to get the fuck out of here because this is going to happen again. We're going to throw some chairs at people. Like, it's not the place for us. And so we left and we're like, okay, let's create something that we can offer that. And then we were going to do a retreat, but then lockdowns happened and we couldn't do that. So it's like, okay, let's go another step back and create something where, yeah, we're going to talk and teach some people things, but what are some embodiments that people can do? And then we're like, okay, so let's look at archetypes. Like, let's give them a figure that someone can go, oh, that thing, like, I will be one of those. So it's like, how do you actually, rather than like, how do you be more wild and primal, but also know how to contain it? Well, then let's look at a beast, you know, and how does a beast operate? And then vice versa with the priest. So we wanted to give something that people can visually go, oh, yep, that, and then bring it into themselves was a really important thing for both of us. And really focusing on like rite of passage was what the retreat was really based around. So it was like, here's some forms of rite of passage that you can go from boy to man here. If you feel like that's not a life for you, if you feel like you're still a boy in certain areas of your life, that it feels unintegrated. So that was a big framing for the two of us to go, okay, how do we deliver this to someone so it's understandable and we know we can put it in our bodies rather than just talk about this is what we're meant to be. Yeah, that was important for both of us. Damn.
It's funny when I reflect on the journey that we've been on together, you and I, Paisley, to get to this place, to create this program, to you know, try to be of service to men, and the synchronistic moment in life at the moment in Australia where, like, you know, New South Wales and Victoria, you're not allowed to leave your fucking house, right? Like, we are restricted to 5 kilometers within your home and within your LGA. And it's like, you know, I'm out at regional New South Wales. It's a bit easier to not necessarily abide by those rules. I mean, and to be honest, the shops are 13 kilometers from my house, so I can't actually stick by those fucking laws even if I wanted to. But these practices that we have put in this program, for me, are fucking paramount. And even the integration one where you merge the beast and priest is literally like, even if you couldn't do it the way that it's taught in the fucking mentorship, you could do it it would be the same principle. Like, you could it is basically what we are being forced to do now through the government, of being like told to stay in one place and blah 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 and not see people and all these things. This program is actually teaching us, or teaching whoever does it, the tools and techniques to regulate their system in moments like this. You know, like that beast that gets fucking scratchy and itchy, the animal is just like, I'm fucking locked in a fucking house and I can't, like, I feel trapped. Like, the practices that we do, the practices that you get taught in there are literally a way to regulate that energetic system, that animal body that can't sit still. And the other side, the priest, is that like, okay, how do I transcend this space right now? How do I step into a place of like, I'm not just my body. I'm not just this fucking animal that wants to, it's just like, how do I connect with something far fucking greater than me? Something so much more potent than my possible perception of myself, and realize that there is a greater meaning. There is a greater message. There is a reason behind it all, you know? And so, like, for me, these practices that are in this program, I fucking do them right now because I need to, because of the state of like how I am living. Like, I am not allowed to leave, so I have to do these things, and they both help me. You know, the practices that I have, that we created as well for being a priest, when I'm fucking antsy and I can't make sense of the things, just like doing the thing helps me. It helps me regulate my brain. It helps me regulate my nervous system. It helps me regulate my state of being. And vice versa with the beast as well. It's like they these practices that are in this program, I'm using every day at the moment because I need to, because like it's how I regulate myself. It's how I bring these two parts of me into wholeness so that I don't feel out of balance.
I was thinking about that recently, just, you know, you saying that you're doing the practices, that's what you have to do to stay in your center. I mean, that's, you know, me paraphrasing, but I was thinking about so many people who aren't even aware of what tools they could use. And maybe for them, the only thing that they know is go to a psychologist, you know, which is helpful, of course, or go to the gym, you know, like most people, it's like, just fucking go to the gym, run the excess energy out, or go to a psychologist. And there are so many other tools. There are so many other ways that can help you to actually stay connected to yourself, stay, you know, actually aware of what is happening for you emotionally, be able to move energy through the body, move emotions, and to be able to stay in that center point. But so many people don't actually know where to find them, or, you know, how to get in, because sometimes we've been in this world for so long, we're using all this language that's like all this shadow and blah blah. Some people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have no clue what this means. So for your ideal, you know, man, for beasts and priests, like at what level of the work would you say that somebody could come into, you know, this particular program? Because is it for like the old hats who've been in like personal development land for like 12 years and already fucking there, or would it be okay for someone who's brand new? Because I reckon right now, and I'm just speaking to everyone who's listening to this podcast, if you're in lockdown, and I never say should, but I'm saying it right now, you should be using this time to get right in yourself, like to fucking get your relationship with yourself, with your body, with your emotions into a really good place, because that's the only thing that's going to help you right now. Sitting around waiting for things to go back to normal, it's never going to happen. We're not going back to normal. It's not going to, there's no more normal. Like there is no more going back to the way it was, not even if every single motherfucker gets vaccinated. And I know that with all of my being, it is not the answer. So use this window of time to fucking go in on that deep work. Get yourself to a place where it doesn't matter what fucking happens externally. You know you've got your back and you'll be okay. Anyway, coming back, for this particular program, like who is it for?
I would say the array is like maybe someone at Tyra and I's level. It could definitely give assistance, but I would say more so drawing it back. Like at our level, maybe not for you, but it's more for people that are anywhere from like have learned about meditation or yoga or connecting to nature or using psychedelics or doing a bit of clearing work, familiar with tarot, whatever it is. If you're there and you're like, this isn't cutting it, like I am limited in my tools and I'm ready to take myself to the new level. And even before that, if you're just like seeing that there's something needing within you to change, like, oh, fuck, this isn't it right now, is if you're at that stage, like I would say go into this, because we're giving very beautifully strong foundational principles for you to go in and go, I have all these new practices to express myself that's beyond like, again, like just hitting the gym or just meditating. It's figuring out how to ramp them up and meet them together. So if you're someone that is feeling limited in your tool bag, regardless of who you are, where you're at, if you're brand new or you're at the level, I'm doing quotation marks, audio version, that we are at, because we are on all different levels, but like,
are you at level 12? I'm just making these levels
level
up,
12. Yeah. If you're at level 12, you could still use this, I believe. If you just currently are going, I need more tools in my tool bag to move through whatever the fuck is going on right now.
Cool.
Look, to be honest, I believe it is for absolute fucking brand new beginners who don't know anything. It's okay for them. And to be honest, it's for anyone that needs accountability, right? Like, I don't care how fucking developed you are. I don't care what level you're fucking on.
So if you're more than
Sometimes,
level 12,
if you feel a bit off, yeah, even if you're on level fucking 112, sometimes when you're like, fuck, I feel a bit lost, fuck, I don't have quite the right thing, or I feel a bit off, like it's 300 Australian dollars. It's like the cheapest fucking offering I've ever done in my life. And you and me, Paisley, are coaching it live for the launch on September 27th. So like, maybe you just want to be a part of something for 3 weeks again. Maybe you just want to join. Maybe you've done the practices. Maybe the practices aren't even going to be new to you, but just to be a part of something again for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Be a part of a group, to do a simple practice, to come back to the basics and do something that you're like, fuck, I know this. Why do I not still do this? You know, like I'm just my Priest of Phallic Power mentorship today, week 1, it's the simplest practice ever. And it's the fucking hardest one to do because it's so simple. And I always want to make things more complicated. So, you know, like this is whatever it is going to be for you. If you feel the calling, if it's something you want, it doesn't matter what fucking level you're on. If you're brand new, it'll blow your fucking mind because you won't have really had anything like it. And if you're in the game for a long time, but you just, you know, it's $300, it's like, you know what, maybe it's just the basic back to basics that you need.
100%. I can definitely relate that on the level of I want everyone to do that, because everyone does need that, especially in this time of lockdowns. Like we are just lacking group work and group accountability. But even today, when I was recording one of my Shapeshifters programs and just going back to the basics, I had to, before I start, to scream into my pillow. I'm like, fuck, is this going to stop? Because I haven't done this for a minute. And I have a big backlog because I'm fucking angry and upset and storing so much around what's going on. And then there was this other layer of like, fuck, because it's been so long, I feel weird about doing this in front of Tim right now. And he was filming for me. And I was like, oh man, like all these different, I had to call on that particular practice at that time. And, you know, maybe there was other practices I would have felt more comfortable doing, but this was the one that I knew needed to move through my body. And that was a back to basics for me. It was just screaming into my pillow shifted so much. And there's just so much of those kinds of practices that we're giving in Beast and Priest to really allow yourself to express and move through and find your stillness again.
So I'm curious, sorry to cut you off, I think you were going to say something, but I know it is a program for men. Is that like a hard rule for you guys?
For me, it's not, maybe for Tyran, but for me, it's like
I'm not trying to stir up shit. I'm just curious.
I feel like for our group container, I would like to keep it for men, as in the one that we're taking through. So men feel that permission to share in front of us things that are related to their cock or to whatever that they feel like women or trans or whatever.
So basically it's men who were assigned male at birth and are living as a man currently is who this program
is for. Which is what cis means. If you're assigned for Tyran.
No, because I wanted to say that because actually when you say male bodied, that's still ambiguous, because if I've transitioned and I am now living as a male, I would say I'm male bodied, even if I have a vulva and a vagina. So I think the correct terminology is if you say assigned male at birth, which means that you're born, you have penis, whatever you got. And if you're currently still living as a man, then we would call that you're a cis man.
So if you identify as a man and you have a cock and you're born with a cock and you're assigned that from birth, our group container that we're running from the launch. So this is a self-automated program that will be available forever, but right now, for the first 3 weeks of its launch, when it launches, what is the date? September 27th, is that we will be doing group coaching. If women want to get it and get these masculine upgrades, they can just buy it and do it in their own time. You can do that. Go for it. Go ham.
I might do that.
Yeah, go for it. I would like to add, and I mean, tell me maybe not, but I would like to add that like any look, I'm even probably going to get this wrong. Trans man, is that a woman became a man and had the operation? Is that trans man?
Trans man would have been assigned female at birth and then
transition to a man,
affirm their gender as a man,
and has had the operation.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
they might have, they might.
Okay, so I would also be happy for any trans man to be in the container if they are like not fluid. For me, like for me, fluidity is the unsafe part of this, of like, because a human that is one at one time and then chooses to change, it's like, like if you are, I am now a man, I am now a woman. If what scares me is in a container of men that identify as men, if they decide to chat, it's like that's the place of unsafety. But for me, if there is a woman or was born a woman who has now identified as a man and has transitioned to a man and is living as a man, there is a part of me that's like, then you are more than welcome to be a part of the group container, because you are living as and identifying as a man. And for me, it's like, well, that's part of being a man, is understanding these polarities.
100%.
So,
100%. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Got it.
Cool.
Got it. Yeah, and I feel you. Like in my containers, if I'm doing a group program, I say it's for women. It doesn't mean I only work with women. I'll work with anybody if they feel really strongly there's something that I have for them, and vice versa. But particularly in Royalty Rising, that's a space where so many women have experienced harm and trauma, at the hands of men. And so therefore in that particular space, it's very important that there are no men in there. So I get that.
Yeah. In my Phallic Power 4-month mentorship, it's a men's only program. We talk about men's issues and fucking sex, relationships with women. And so we don't want women in the container, and that's how it runs. So I get it. But yeah, for me, this is an archetypal journey. It's not a relational, like that. Yeah. So for me, I'm happy to have trans men in the space as well, as long as they are 100% identifying as a man and living as a man.
Yeah, trans homies, let's get it. Let's get it.
Get it.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope. So yeah, 27th of September, Paisley and I, basically you will get group coaching from us. And so any questions that you would have, any like queries, we'll be throwing in extra practices. We'll be throwing in extra content around, well, okay, look, if you're having trouble with this practice, or maybe you could do this, or there will be so much extra support in there from us coaching live. And you have a very large group of men going through the process with you. So you are going to feel like you are a part of something much bigger than just you and your experience. Yes. And that, for me, is where the real magic happens in any fucking work.
Group accountability, nice. Group transformation, group conscious shifting is just so powerful for me. And just, again, it's $300. Like an hour session with Tyran or I separately is $300. So if you want to really just make the most of your dollar, work with us. Like, come be there. It's so important.
Bang for your buck.
Bang for your buck.
Bruh. I'm jealous that I can't be in it.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, come on. If you wanted to be between me and Paisley Alpha, all you would have to do is ask.
No, Paisley's in a monogamous relationship right now.
Paisley's monogamous these days.
Jesus, you just blew my mind. Oh, yeah. Well, Paisley, you and Tim can just watch then.
Yeah, we'll watch.
Is that an invitation, Tyran? I'm confused.
Take from it what you will.
Oh, I love that. Love that ambiguity. Love it. It was so nice connecting with you. I feel like this is like a wrap. I don't know. Is everyone feeling like that?
I feel like we're wrapping up now.
Yeah.
Feels like a wrap. Yeah. I think we've had a really healthy and brave discussion on all of these things. And for anyone who's listening, wherever you are in your journey around your own gender, your own sexual orientation, masculine, feminine energies, polarities, like whatever you want to call it. yeah, I invite you to share what hit for you, what missed for you, what you needed from this. I know that Tyran is quite a well-known public figure, but will probably be open to, you know, some engagement if you're respectful of the boundaries. If you slide up in his DMs and you got some questions, you know, I'm sure you could ask some questions if you feel to.
Yeah. I really want to honor the fact that we've been able to discuss and for some of us to be new to certain topics and then to learn in this conversation and to have different views. And I really want to invite the listeners to allow more of that in your life, to go, oh shit, you know, like we can see the difference between Alpha, Paisley, and Tyran right now, but see this camaraderie that we have and how we inspire one another and how we learn from one another and how we can continue to do that and we can challenge. Like there's been challenges in this as well. Like, hey, no, well, I think this, you think that. Like that is my biggest takeaway, and that I would love to hear how that's landed in people's worlds, to go, oh fuck, I have seen differences among this, you know, some people say the embodied community or the spiritual community or the tantra community or the community is like
community
what you take away from hearing that from people that you enjoy listening to. So please let us know that. And Tyran, I would love for you to share where people can find you, what you've got going on in your world outside of Beast and Priest. Yeah, just to share with people what you've got going on.
Yeah, look, firstly, thanks, guys. You know, like it's taken me a long time to not just get comfortable to talk into these topics, but even to feel like what I have to say in them is somewhat like reasonable, because, you know, it can be challenging sometimes. You know, I fucking hate saying it, but just like a regular white dude who, you know, has the whole patriarchal white cis privilege thing. It's like there are many times when you get told anything you say is not valid because of everything, and it's like, well, then that, for me, that's just like more separation. And so like it's sometimes challenging to even have conversations on these topics in these worlds. So I just want to say thank you for being my friends, first of all, because I've been able to have those conversations and ask questions to both of you individually and together, and like it's helped me feel accepted for who I am, even though I'm a normal, quotation there, normal dude. It's like, fuck, I feel still separate in my worlds all the time. So like, just for me, just our friendship alone is like, that all parts of you are welcome in all parts of me and everywhere. And it's like, that's what helps heal, for me, the planet on a bigger scale. And yeah, this conversation has been great. I love your ability to, like, you know, not shame anything I say, but then also ask questions to like further understand or bring your own perspective. It helps me articulate myself and get a spin on the way I interpret the world better. So thank you. Yeah, firstly and lastly. Yes. TyranMowbray.com is my website. Tyran.Mowbray on Instagram. Tyran Mowbray on Facebook. I work predominantly with men. I definitely have female clients. I have had a shit ton of requests for women to learn about men. So come November, I'm actually going to run a 3-week program for female-bodied women, for women on masculinity. We're going to do 3 weeks, 1 week on sexuality, 1 week on emotionality, and 1 week on the heart, and really learning about men and how they relate from these areas, and how women can relate with these parts of men better, how they can understand them, how they can, you know, learn to dance and open them up more, how to, so we're going to do a short 3-week one-off program for women come November. I've got my new 6-week for men offering called the Tantric Tradie. This will be for very regular, everyday Joe Blow tradie blokes. But yeah, 6 weeks of Tantra and learning to, you know, master your sexuality and become a sex god in the bedroom. But also like just to you know, realize that spirituality and Tantra is nothing that you have to be afraid of. You don't lose anything by stepping into it. So yeah, that's coming in November as well. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. I have a facilitator training for men that want to become men's facilitators. That's always evolving. And my 4-month mentorship, currently called Pre-Cephalic Power, but soon will be the Embodied Man Mentorship, because I'm creating an entire institute for men. And so it will all feed into each other. The facilitators will become facilitators who will teach the 4-month mentorship, and they'll, I really want to create this new movement of men opening up, sharing, teaching, guiding, becoming mentors for each other. And it's gonna be fucking epic. So stay tuned.
Sounds sick. I like, feels really alive for me, the tantric tradie. I can just see you on, Channel 7 or Sunrise, whatever, talking about it. I can see you teaching Tantra using all of this like carpentry analogies and like to the sparkies and, talking about electricity and like, that's so fucking sick.
Exactly what it's like, It's like you got a positive and you got a negative. It's like, yeah, cool. Positive,
love
negative.
it. You got a hammer, you got a nail.
I love that. I love it.
You got hot water and cold water for the plumbers,
So good.
All of the different tradies have their own analogies that you use. I love it. Yeah, I really want to honor how much I respect what you're doing in the world, Tyran. I know, we're offering our own thing, but just seeing what you're doing, hearing right now, what you're putting out to the world, always seeing what you're doing on Instagram, it always inspires me when we get to check in. Like, we have a friendship and a working relationship. We don't get to hang out in the friendship as much because we live in different places. But whenever we're doing things like this, I just always leave like, yes, I want to create more. I want to have more of an effect. I want to be more myself. I want to be more unapologetic. So yeah, please, for anyone listening, go check out Tyran. And just, if you go to his Instagram or his website and see the words that he has to share and the things that he is offering, I promise you will be inspired
or triggered
that you will be feeling some emotion in your life.
You'll be aroused in some way.
Yes. He's an arousing man.
That's what happened when your masculine and your feminine have sex with each other all the time internally. Everything around you just is aroused.
Yes.
Aroused.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what? I got so many, just on that topic of arousal, I got countless inboxes of going, I don't really know what this video is, but I'm turned on, from both men and women around that Beast and Priest promo video that we put out.
True.
And I just said, yeah, if you want to turn people on like this, you should go buy that program.
Boss, yes, boss, yeah. I'm gonna start tagging some of the dudes that I know in the post.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Love it. Amazing. Thanks
Thank
so much.
you very much, guys.
Wow.
Good night.